Good evening. It's Community oil process and just says Nigeria has disappointed Shell industry. On 14, Israel passes reform law. I am Constance Mega. Were growing in some parts of Port Harcourt in the heavy rainfall. Flash floods in many parts of the city, including Roma Direction, Molandes of the US Road, Romasi, Elio's Flyover, and Peter Deli Road. Others, subsequent to exit is where conduct on the trade for floods have the shoals of the constantly several people to go. The contractors to drain to stop the flooding.
It's been for the because we are telling customers. Definitely I make to they will come any moment from next month. They will come and start work on it. At least after walking the road now, we'll be very happy. So our business will be moving.
The thing is really affecting us negatively. Anytime rain falls, that is the end of the for the passers by will not see road to pass. The taxi drivers, none of them will come around. We that are selling, no customers will come. Even when they wanted to call, they will say, "Madam, see flood. There is no way I can come to patronize you." Feeling like this morning, I sampled something outside, but as the rain is falling, flood, I have to bring them inside. See my children.
Well, as you may know, the Mbolu axis or the Mbolu Junction axis of the East-West Road has continued to see flash floods 2 years after the road was reconstructed. Recall that the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs did not fix the road until 2021 after it had been in poor condition for about 3 years. Moving on, ATL community in Eleme local government area has petitioned the Senate over a month-long oil spill that occurred in the area. A youth leader from the community, Gift Kukwa, tells correspondent Suibio Ruwari that complaints about the oil spill have not been addressed by the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, NOSTRA. He said federal lawmaker Barry Mpigi lead the complaint before the Senate.
Please, when the NFPC have not responded to the committee, they have not shown face. The only thing they do is that they create the power and close this minute without the notice of the committee. So that is one of the reasons why I went to Senate and they should come to our aid. Not only Senate, we have also written to ask for Assembly also read. We also know that not don't even know anything.
Well, Nostra is yet to come. In another development, Private Head of Service, George Nweke, says the administration of Governor Siminalayi Fubara will make the lives of civil servants better during and after their year's service. Dr. Nweke said this during the Thanksgiving service at St. Jude's Military Church, GRA Port Harcourt, held to kick off the 2023 Civil Service Week and Award Ceremony.
We enter service and all through our service years give all the glory to God. This year is so special to us for the many things that God has done in Rivers State. This is the first time in Rivers State that a civil servant has ascended to the position of the executive governor. The things that have done for us as civil servants and for Rivers State as a whole speak volumes of what civil servants can do. We pledge to God Almighty and to the people of Rivers State that we shall discharge our duties diligently.
Well, on their part, some civil servants thanked Governor Fubara for the measures he put in place to the removal on Rivers citizens.
Civil servants are the servants of the society. Having worked for a year, we want to thank God for a successful service.
We have so much to thank God. The civil servants are very elated. You can see the enthusiasm. They are hopeful, they are energized to work.
This is the first time our own is on the throne. They have helped us. Our commitment to this administration is to be punctual at our duty posts. We will start their duties with all sense of humility to make sure that he succeeds. We will do everything with a human effort. The governor of the state, we will come out to discharge our service that will make Rivers State a more better place.
Well, our correspondent reports that members of Civil Service Commission, serving permanent secretaries, retirees and other dignitaries attended the event to mark the annual event. A highlight of the event was a visit to the home of the elderly and orphanage. The permanent secretary of the Ministry of Information and Communication, Barrister Ibiwari Ogolo, said the visit was a means for them to give back to the society and urged privileged Rivers citizens to do the same.
Though we may not have reached where we want to go, to be forced on everyone who has been elevated to some extent to reach out to those that are in need. This is a children's home. This is a home where we have the future. As they say, the youths are the leaders of tomorrow. And this is the time to start to groom these leaders. You don't have to have so much to be able to lend a helping hand. You just have to have a compassionate heart.
Well, the theme for this year's Civil Service Week is Digitalization of Work Process in the Public Service, Gateway to Efficient Resource Utilization and National Development. The National Association of Surveying and Geoinformatics Lecturers in Polytechnic and Universities in Nigeria is seeking partnership and collaboration from the Office of the Surveyor General in Rivers State, where Chairman of the association, Kuro Tamuno Jackson, made this known when he led members on a courtesy call to the Surveyor General, Noel Elewo. Well, Dr. Jackson said the courtesy call is aimed at delivering human capital development, maintenance and growth of the surveying profession.
This is something we will explore, and for us to see the synergy we have desired, and we keep enjoying growth in leaps and bounds, and to be assured that available, we will make our resources in terms of intellectual abilities at your disposal.
Well, on his part, the Surveyor General of the state, Noel Elewo, who is also the chairman of the Association of Practicing Surveyors of Nigeria, said his office is ready to partner with the association in intervening in environmental degradation, flooding control, survey and mapping data, among others.
Destiny made it so that I sit here in the capacity of the Surveyor General of the state as a permanent secretary, serving with the responsibility of control and regulation of surveying in all ramifications. So I can also claim to be serving the responsibility of regulation of surveying even beyond rivers, sustenance of the profession, and most predominantly contribution to the development of our society, and not just development in an unregulated and in that manner, but in a very regulated manner.
Well, the Surveyor General also felicitated with Governor Siminalayi Fubara on his election victory and pledged to continue to support the new administration the same way he fully supported the immediate past administration. Members of the Niger Delta Petroleum Resources NDPR host communities in Rivers State say they will resist any further attempt to shut down the operations of the NDPR. Chairman of the NDPR host communities, Kipoye Gogo, in an interview, frowned at the continuous threats by some individuals to shut down the company's operation, noting that enough is enough. He said the operations of the company cover 8 communities and not only members of one particular community.
NDPR Limited is hosted by 8 communities and their facilities located in these communities. Anything that affects any location or flow station affects the interests of all other communities. Therefore, the continuous threats against facilities of the company is not acceptable to us. Any person or group of persons that have issues with the company should settle with them through legal means or dialogue, as should henceforth stop harassing company staff and other individuals.
Still to come, former President Obasanjo says Nigeria has disappointed Africa and the world. Stay tuned.
You no longer have to miss any moment of the action. Listen to us from anywhere in the world.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo says Nigeria disappointed itself, Africa and the world for failing to live up to expectations since it got independence about 63 years ago. Mr. Obasanjo said this while delivering the keynote address at the public presentation of the book titled Reclaiming the Jewel of Africa, written by a former minister, Olusegun Agongo, where he said for Nigeria to chart a new course, she must admit her failures. He said Nigerians are carried along by ego and emotion of selfishness and self-centeredness, ethnic and religious sentiments, with a gross misunderstanding of what development entails. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has urged the National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, to immediately suspend their impending strike. Mr. Abbas made the call at a meeting between the leadership of the House and NARD in Abuja today against the backdrop of a looming strike action, which notice had been issued, where he said the lingering issue will be approached with an open mind and guided by the fact that revenues available to the government might not fully meet their demands. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it did not receive any cash support from international development partners to conduct the 2023 general elections. Well, the INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakubu said this at a meeting with civil society organizations on the review of the 2023 general elections. Well, he said INEC only received cash support from the federal government. And in business, the national president of Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Chinedu Okoronkwo, says a process of investing in compressed natural gas, CNG, for its members has begun. Mr. Okoronkwo made this known to correspondent Suebi Oruwari while speaking on their efforts to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal.
Those who qualify, they will know how to carry it. I'll forward the data for you. You will see. We need to know those who are qualified to the size of your station, the money you will need. With those interests, we can now aggregate the market and know how to give them also. It will be funded by the group that is working with us. Government will apply their destiny to see how they will reduce the suffering. We are also bringing solutions to see how we can contribute in ameliorating.
Mr. Okoronkwo said the adoption of CNG is a better alternative in addressing the constant fluctuation in the price of petrol in the global market. He also advised the federal government to roll out palliative measures that are holistic.
I'm not government, we are private, all hands must be on deck. When we have not seen what the palliative will look like, how do we get involved in it? Let them roll out and we will see the specific area where they are targeting the palliative. Then you can begin to know if we are involved. But like I've said, we have our plan and our plan is very simple how to roll out.
In entertainment, popular skit maker Emmanuel Ejehu, known as Sabinus, has advised pranksters to apply caution, especially when it concerns elderly people and children when doing their pranks, to ensure it does not cause damage. He spoke to our correspondents in preparation for his event in Port Harcourt. That April this year, an American YouTube prankster was shot about his prank video. Now to spy, Hila had to kebab record 250 million bid for the Paris Saint-Germain forward, where the 24-year-old France captain, who has a year left on his contract, has refused to sign an extension at the French champions and was not selected for their pre-season tour to Japan.
And now we'll bring you news from around the world.
Lawmakers in Israel have passed into law a highly controversial bill despite mass protests which aimed to thwart it. The law removes the power of the Supreme Court to overrule government actions that it considers unreasonable. Now, it is the first to be approved in a series of bitterly contested reforms aimed at curbing the power of courts. But the planned reforms have triggered some of the biggest protests in Israel's history. The government argues that the measures are necessary to correct an imbalance in power, which has seen the courts increasingly intervene in political decisions in recent decades. Well, that's the news. But before we go, another look at the highlights of the major stories. On the news this evening, you heard that Etio community in Eleme local government area of Rivers State has petitioned the Senate over a month-long oil spill. Business owners have spoken on plans by a contractor handling the east-west road to expand Bolu Junction drainage. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo says Nigeria has disappointed Africa and the world. Now, the House of Representatives has asked resident doctors to shelve their planned nationwide strike. And on the foreign scene, you heard that Israel has passed a judicial reform law despite mass protests against it. The news was edited by Martha Okerenkem. Mostly cloudy weather in Port Harcourt this evening. Remember, peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. My name is Constance Mega. Thank you so much for listening. Good evening.